Brandon Johnson was on the move today, meeting with constituents as he gets ready to take office. He crisscrossed the city, starting with coffee on the south side, then moving on to empanadas in Avondale. In between, he stopped at Hyde Park High School, where he took questions from students and addressed the teen rampage earlier this month and the damage it caused in the Loop. He said it's the job of the city to protect its youth, including sometimes protecting them from themselves.
This is your city. Don't let anybody make you believe and think that you can't go outside and enjoy the city. You'll never hear that from me. Now, what you will hear from me though is, let's make sure that our engagement and participation, reflects the best part of our values. One more.
Johnson asked the teens for their help with ideas for activities downtown and in their own neighborhoods to make sure they're engaging safely.
And so joining us with his insight on the past week is the host of the WGN Political Report, Paul Lisnek.
Hi guys, good to see you.
Love having you here on a Friday, wrapping things up. Let's start with the Kim Foxx era coming to an end at the Cook County State's Attorney's Office. Hallmarks have been overturning wrongful convictions, championing bond reform, but she really does not want to talk about the Jussie Smollett case.
She made that clear. She
Yeah.
spoke at the City Club. I watched that presentation, and I'll tell you, she was fiery, she was defiant, and she said exactly that. That I think she's thinking about what her legacy is going to be. And basically, while she gets a lot of heat over Jussie Smollett and other situations of is she tough enough on crime, she spent the entire time pointing to other situations, people who were wrongfully incarcerated, and she had many there, who served years in jail, but now they were out and it was wrong. So I think her whole point is, or maybe the interpretation of the point is, there's two sides to this coin, and when she came into office, it was a certain time post Laquan McDonald. She had a mission that she wanted to address, which was to right the wrongs of the system. Now, of course, there's a lot of sense within Chicago, which is to say, we probably need to get tougher on crime. She has that sense as well. So again, very defiant, but she's taken herself out of 2024, which means it's now a wide open field.
She is done November 2024.
That's right.
Moving on to ComEd, 3 days now of deliberations. What's your sense of that? It taking that long? It was a long, complicated case.
Yeah,
obviously.
so there's a general, we're in the lawyer hat now, so there's a general rule of thumb, which is for every week the trial goes on, a jury will deliberate for a day. It's just a general rule. It doesn't necessarily work that way. I expect that the jury will come back early part of next week, Monday or Tuesday, but whatever day they come back, it'll be after lunch. They always stay and get their lunch. They do. But anyway, beyond that, I think what's going to happen is if they come back and let's say they find everybody not guilty, then I think the sense is going to be that these jurors looked and said, you know what, they got the wrong guy on trial here. Everybody was pointing to Mike Madigan, and these people were just, puppets in the process. That would be if it's not guilty. Have no idea what they're going to do. If they come back and they find them guilty, then essentially they may be looking at those deals and saying, no, this clearly was in violation of the law, and it doesn't mean it's any better for Mike Madigan. It just means that they looked and don't feel that these folks can be forgiven. But there's enough charges here. These folks can do technically some serious time if they are convicted, and a judge could either have it run consecutively, concurrently, we'll see. But right now we await the verdict. It could be anywhere from not guilty on all counts to guilty on some.
It's been such a complex case.
Yeah.
We've got a lot to get to talk about the former president. Let's start with this historic moment to have a former vice president testifying about a former president. And Mike Pence did that for a number of hours, talking about Donald Trump's role leading up to January 6th here. Talk to us about the peril that exists for him.
So just before I get to that, Ray, what's really fascinating about that is when the appellate court ruled that he had to testify, the next question was, will the former president's lawyers take it to the Supreme Court, either en banc with the appellate court or go to the Supreme Court? And yet before you can get those words out of your mouth, Jack Smith calls him in and Pence shows up. And he stayed there basically all day, like 8:30 to 4 in the afternoon. So clearly he didn't spend the day taking the fifth. So we don't know what he said. We're not privy to questions or answers or anything like that. We do know Pence spent the day, but I think it's fairly interesting that they did not wait to see if Trump would continue in the appeals. They just went in and did their duty, meaning they did what they felt they had to do and testified. This is a critical piece. The fact that Pence testified is clearly an indication that Jack Smith's investigation on January 6th is coming to an end. You bring somebody like Pence in when you're wrapping things up. And his testimony is critical because the president's not going to testify. That is, Trump's not going to testify. And he's going to deny whatever, even if he is indicted, certainly in paperwork. So the bottom line is you need a Pence, you need a Mark Meadows, you need all the people that January 6th committee couldn't get to testify, but Jack Smith did force them to testify. We don't know what they said, but we're going to find out eventually, and it's going to be fascinating.
Well, let's go down to Georgia.
Georgia.
Fulton County, Fani Willis. A lot of legal analysts have said in the past that this one might have the most teeth as far as indictment,
Well,
successful indictment.
Because there's tapes. They actually have the former president on tape. So Fani Willis has told, she's announced, get ready that in what they call their third part of the year, third quarter, they're going to be issuing indictments between July 11th and September 1st. She didn't say she was indicting Trump. What she did say was, I really encourage law enforcement to maybe beef up what you're doing here. Now, again, that could mean anything.
Seems like a strong signal.
It is a strong signal that she looks like she's going to indict the former president. But if she doesn't, we'd say, oh, well, then she was just worried about things in general. But it does look like that. And again, Jackie, that is a very tough case for him because he's on tape. Find me, I need 11,780 votes. It's one more than we have. Those kinds of comments. But that doesn't mean that a good lawyer doesn't argue mindset and other kinds of things. It's tough to prove, but I do think she goes for it.
Speaking of lawyers arguing, E. Jean Carroll is the writer who accused Donald Trump of raping her in the 1990s, suing him for defamation. She's been testifying. Trump is not.
Yeah, and that actually, so here's the thing, he doesn't have to. So he does not have to be in the court. She doesn't have to be in the courtroom, but she is. So part of the risk on his part is that they're going to be playing his statements in a deposition that he's given. He has given video deposition. So if he's in the courtroom, he gets to take the stand and say, that's out of context, and that's not what I meant, and why are you showing that clip? Because none of that's going to happen because he's not going to be there. So that puts him at a detriment with regard to the clips that they use. The problem, as you said, that it is from the 90s, so it goes back a long way. However, she's bringing in some witnesses, folks that she talked to way back when it happened. And that's actually strong for her part because it doesn't mean she sat around for 30 years not saying anything. Clearly, she reported to people at that time. And this notion of you shouldn't have waited and you should have cried and why didn't you scream and why didn't you cry, that gets into the whole world of sexual assault where again, women, and I know women will always say, it doesn't work the same way for everybody. We deal with it how we deal with it.
Yeah.
And I think that's the argument that she'll have.
Sunday
We'll
show.
have to end it there, yeah.
All right. Sunday morning going to be interesting. We got Governor Pritzker joining us for about half the show. We're going to talk about everything you could imagine. And then Valerie Leonard with the Illinois African Americans for Equitable Redistricting will join us because they're getting ready to elect the school board, at least half the school board, more or less. So she wants to be sure it's done in a proper way with redistricting. More redistricting when it comes to school districts. We're going to talk about that. But again, most of the show with Governor Pritzker.
All right, look forward to it.
Thank you guys. Sunday morning at 9.
All right.